Target date funds have quietly become one of the biggest forces in retirement investing by default. They now manage trillions of dollars for millions of Americans with employer-sponsored retirement accounts. On the surface, that sounds great. A single fund that adjusts your risk for you, rebalances for you, and gradually becomes more conservative as you get closer to retirement. It feels like the cruise control of investing. You set it, forget it, and focus on the rest of your life. Except there's a hidden side to how these things work. And once you see it, you start to understand why there's so much debate about them, why some people feel misled, and why certain assumptions around these funds don't hold up the way that you would expect. So in this video, I want to show you what's really going on under the hood, and more importantly, how these hidden design choices can help or hurt your retirement depending on whether you understand them. If you've ever opened a 401k through your employer, there's a good chance you didn't actually pick your investments. The company did it for you, and more often than not, they dropped you straight into a target date fund. And this wasn't by accident. Back in 2006, the Pension Protection Act basically reshaped the entire retirement system. It encouraged employers to automatically enroll workers into their retirement plans, and it allowed target date funds to be used as the default option. When something becomes the default in a 401k, people stick with it because we're creatures of habit. Most people aren't trying to build a full portfolio from scratch in between meetings and the normal life things they have going on. And honestly, that's not a bad thing. Target date funds solve one of the biggest roadblocks in retirement planning: decision making. They give you instant diversification, they rebalance automatically, and they adjust your risk as you get older. For a lot of people, that prevents the biggest mistakes, like sitting in cash for years, trying to time the market, or bouncing in and out of funds based on headlines. They also help people who would have never normally invested actually start investing, and that's a huge win. So before we talk about any of the issues, I want to be clear. Target date funds exist for a reason, and they genuinely help millions of people build wealth who might not have ever done it on their own. But like anything in finance, the benefits sit right next to the blind spots, and that's where things start to get interesting. Most people assume a target date fund is basically the same no matter who makes it. You pick a year closest to when you want to retire and call it a day. Same idea, same risk, same structure, just a different brand name on the label. But that's not how it works at all. Two target date funds with the exact same retirement year can look completely different under the hood. Different risk levels, different stock and bond mixes, different underlying funds, different beliefs about what safe actually looks like as you get older. Take for instance Glidepaths, the roadmap that determines how a target date fund shifts from stocks to bonds over time. Some providers keep you heavily in stocks for most of your career. Others start pulling back far earlier. And these differences aren't small. They can change how fast your money grows and how much volatility you experience along the way. To show you how wildly different they can be, here's a comparison of 5 different 2040 target date funds from 4 major providers. And at first glance, some of these allocation differences might look pretty small, but that's kind of the point. They're all over the place. I mean, just look at the US to international stock split. Some funds lean heavily toward US stocks, others bump up their international exposure, and there's no agreement on what right even looks like. And look at the bond allocations. One fund has 16% in bonds at this stage, while another sits closer to 23%. That's a pretty meaningful gap for people who still have roughly 15 years until retirement. And remember, these are all labeled 2040, same retirement year, but completely different philosophies. That chart should make it obvious that your experience, your growth potential, and even your risk level can swing quite a bit depending on which company your employer chooses for you. You could be more aggressive than you intend to be, or far more conservative than you realize, all under the exact same retirement date. Then we've got how the fund is actually built. Some companies keep it incredibly simple, like the 2040 Vanguard Target Date Fund that holds 6 different broad low-cost index funds. Then you've got the 2040 Fidelity Actively Managed Target Date Fund that loads it with 43 different funds, including actively managed ones with higher fees. It's basically a totally different strategy hiding behind the same retirement year on the label. When you put all that together, you get something most investors never realize. You and your neighbor could both be in the 2050 funds and be taking very different levels of risk, paying different fees, and getting very different long-term results simply because your employer picked different providers. This is the first sign that target date funds aren't the neat, identical, one-size-fits-all product people assume they are. and why it's worth looking just a little bit deeper before relying on one for your entire retirement plan. One of the biggest surprises with target date funds is how differently they handle risk, especially for younger investors who have decades before retirement. When you're in your 20s or early 30s, your greatest advantage isn't money, it's time. Time to save, time to invest, time for the market to recover from anything it throws at you, plus active income to be able to invest no matter what the stock market is doing. And because of that, most people in this stage of life can afford to take on a lot more risk than they think. But many target date funds start dialing back that risk way earlier than you would expect. In fact, they do it the second you start investing. Take the Vanguard 2070 Target Retirement Fund as an example. This fund is designed for people who are roughly 45 years from retirement, yet it still holds about 8% in bonds today. And you have to ask why. What exactly is a 22-year-old being protected from? A freaking short-term dip that happens half a century before they'll ever touch their money? That tiny slice of bonds may not seem like a big deal, but even small amounts of safety early on can drag down long-term growth when you stretch it across 4 or 5 decades. Because bonds historically grow more slowly than stocks, so shaving even 5 to 10% off your stock exposure in your early years can snowball into a much smaller balance later on. Not because you did anything wrong, but because the default setting told you to grow slower without you even realizing it. And this matters a lot, since younger workers are the biggest users of target date funds. According to Vanguard, 77% of savers in their 20s are invested in target date funds inside their 401k with Vanguard. What the f***? So the group with the highest ability to take on risk, the group that benefits the most from long-term compounding, is often defaulted into portfolios that take less risk than they realistically need. By this point, you've probably noticed a pattern. Even when two target date funds share the same retirement year, they don't share the same strategy. And those differences change how it performs over time. And some of the performance gaps are bigger than you would ever expect. Take the 2050 funds from two different providers, Victory and Vanguard, that were studied in one of the white papers I reviewed for this video. Vanguard's 2050 fund tracked almost perfectly with its benchmark. Technically, it even outperformed it by about 0.03% per year. Meanwhile, Victory's 2050 fund underperformed its benchmark by 1.63% per year. Excuse my language, but that's knuckin' futz. And that gap wasn't random. Of that 1.63% underperformance, roughly 0.42% came from above average fees, and the remaining 1.21% came from the underperformance of the 25 different actively managed funds held within the 2050 retirement fund. A 1.63% per year drag might not sound catastrophic in the short term, but stretch that out over 30 or 40 years and the difference becomes enormous. A 1 to 1.5% annual drag can erase tens of thousands or sometimes even hundreds of thousands of dollars from your future balance. This is the messed up part about target date funds. Both investors thought that they were using the exact same type of safe and effective product, kind of like the COVID shot, but that's besides the point. Same year, same idea, same goal. But the way the funds were built was totally different. One kept things simple and low cost, the other used a stack of underlying funds, many of them actively managed, with fees and trading decisions that quietly ate into the returns. On top of that, some providers make shifts throughout the year, adjusting their portfolio based on what they think is going to happen in the market. In the research I reviewed, some funds moved around 4% every quarter, which added up to close to 9% per year in changes. Sometimes that helps, a lot of times it doesn't. So now you've got two people, same age, same retirement year, same plan to set it and forget it. But one ends up taking on more risk, paying higher fees, and earning lower returns, all because of how their target date fund was designed behind the scenes. One thing I've realized over the years is how much people are split on target date funds. Some people love them, and some people absolutely despise them. They're one of the investments that seem straightforward on the surface, but the moment you learn a little bit more about them, the opinions tend to split pretty fast. And now you can probably see why. These things look like a simple, standardized tool, but underneath, they're built on completely different philosophies about what investing should look like before and after retirement. Some providers think you should stay heavily in stocks well into your 40s, or even your early 50s. Others start dialing back risk decades before retirement. Some keep things simple with a handful of low-cost index funds. Others layer in dozens of actively managed funds and tactical adjustments. Some prioritize minimizing volatility. Others prioritize maximizing long-term growth. And because all this happens behind the scenes, most investors never realize how different these approaches truly are unless you're a freaking weirdo nerd like myself and a few other people out there. So when two people talk about their experience with target date funds, they might as well be talking about two totally different products, even if the label on the front says 2040. There isn't one accepted glide path, there isn't one correct level of risk, there isn't one agreed upon way to allocate stocks and bonds, and there isn't one answer to how conservative someone should be at retirement. Everyone has their own definition of what right looks like. And because these differences aren't obvious from the outside, a lot of people end up feeling confused, misled, or frustrated when they finally see what their fund actually holds. It's not that target date funds are bad, it's that they're marketed as simple and standardized when in reality they're anything but. And once you understand that, the controversy makes a lot more sense, and so does the need to look under the hood of your own target date fund. I'm a little torn on target date funds in general. Over the years, I've gone back and forth on whether they make sense for most people. At this point, I think I'm solidly in the camp that says if you can avoid them, you probably should. The list of issues is just too long for me to ignore. Now, is it the end of the world if someone invests in them? No, not at all. Someone could be doing much worse things like not investing at all. I think there's a small slice of the population that genuinely benefits from them. People who want absolutely nothing to do with investing, but know that they still need to do it. These people, they don't care about performance drag, they don't care about transparency, and they have zero interest in learning about anything when it comes to investing. They're the people who look at you like you have 4 freaking heads when you explain how their 2050 fund underperforms its benchmark by 1 to 2% per year. They're like, what the hell are you talking about? Now, is that the right way to approach personal finance and investing? Hell no. But this is exactly why certain people make terrible money decisions. They don't care enough to learn. The uncomfortable truth is that there will always be a percentage of the population who isn't interested in taking a few hours to read a book like The Boglehead's Guide to Investing to learn 90% of what they need to know. They can't be bothered to put in even a minimal amount of effort. This is the group target date funds are perfect for. It sort of reminds me of the first law from a book that I read called The Basic Laws of Human Stupidity, where the author writes, always and inevitably, everyone underestimates the number of stupid individuals in circulation. He also points out that this fraction is constant and independent of education, profession, and social status. In other words, a shocking number of people simply do not and will not take the time to understand even the basics of investing so they can avoid the issues that come with target date funds. Let me know if you agree with this idea I've been kicking around, but I kind of feel like target date funds are like the Ozempic of the investing world. It works well enough, but you're paying a premium every month for something most people could do themselves with a tiny bit of discipline and 3 cheap index funds. Oh, and one thing I should mention about target date funds is that you should never hold them inside of a taxable brokerage account. In the video to your left, I teach you why that is, along with all of the other overlooked benefits of that account. Check out the description to help support the channel. Hit that like button before you go. I'll see you in the next one, friends. Done.